comes first.
We'll make heaven a place on earth. Ooh, heaven is a place on earth.
Alright, enough of that. Child of the 80s. Okay, so, I'm back from Chicago. I had an amazing time. And I'm trying to get caught up on... Whoa, okay. None of that now. Emails. Not burning cords with candles. Just put that over here now. I'm having this great conversation, email conversation with somebody that I don't know, I'm resonating with his energy, like, I don't know, it's just a great conversation. And all silliness aside, that is sort of what we're trying to do, and that's sort of where the conversation was turning. And then I finished the email, and that song came on downstairs, and I was just like, ooh, fun introduction. But anyway, I think I have to read this email because we were just talking about different things and magic and his path and questions, and I just basically I was writing this like freaking long email, and it's like outlining my whole philosophy / methodology. I mean, like not in particular, but in general, and I'm just loving like how this is working. Maybe I've just had too much coffee, but I just want to read it. Maybe if I could go back, and then I could see where I started at. Let's see, how did it start? And I hope you don't mind if you see this video that I'm actually gonna read your email. I won't say your name or anything. I'm a writer, researcher out of Los Angeles, degree in world religions, course in miracles. He's gotten deeply into Crowley just from a certain scholarly perspective, basically. But he has a problem with the... he tends to write him off in a way, Crowley, because he's like kind of crazy. Well, he is crazy. A few followers that I've met seem harmless and goofy, like Trekkies. Talking, you know, and I talk about that a lot. You know, a lot of people in the New Age realm or whatever, they just, you know, they're just so accepting of the experiences that they have, and they just talk about it, you know, without either backing it up or investigating. To the rest of us, it's like, okay, dude, you know, whatever. Yeah. Very interested in learning powerful manifesting techniques, but the idea is foreign to my current way of thinking. This is the first email. Don't know how New Agers and magicians' practices could be any different or any more powerful than the rituals of all religions, and he's studied religion very in depth. So this is my last email. Interesting take. I agree with you on Crowley. Love under will, self-affirmation are pretty general. Mostly pass off Crowley as the ramblings of an egoist with an overactive imagination. And then I said a true magician takes control of himself and his world and creates both according to his desires. And then I talked about manifestation. The only thing that really distinguishes newer techniques from older styles using affirmations and positive thinking is the amount of energy created around your desire and the critical component of releasing that desire completely and then forgetting about it. If you hold on to something even in the back of your mind, you are inhibiting it from manifesting into your life. Some more New Age techniques to create a strong energy around a particular desire include using Reiki or the Akadua or whatever, instead of the physical energy of the body, like Qi, which is what you're using if you're using sexual magic techniques over a sigil or whatever, or, you know, Chinese techniques, or even just techniques of visualization, of visualizing like a red energy around a symbol that you're drawing, and, you know, imagining that energy is real, that you're imagining. It is real. You know, I mean, it's visualization to me is kind of weak unless you're a very strong visualizer. Then it's kind of a weak technique. There are other ways of getting more energy into something. Sex magic being one of those. Sexual energy is some of the most powerful energy in the world. Let's see. If you hold techniques, I don't know if you've seen my video on manifestation, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so then he comes back with, let me just go to the sent one that I just sent out. He's talking about, someone who's a Reiki master and uses crystals and essential oils, and he just sees her as a little goofy. And I was saying, like, could tell that he's a true seeker. It's difficult to take a lot of spiritualists, or whatever you want to call them, seriously, because they're very ungrounded people. I wouldn't do a long description of that. Not that I think. Okay, what I really want to get to is this. He says, my own practice involves a lot of research, endless contemplation, occasional mantra-based meditation, and countless dabblings and experiments with kundalini, chakras, breathing exercises. My own spiritual journey began with a not weak prayer. We had talked about prayer before. I must have missed an email. And maybe not. And how, to me, like, prayer is a weak form of manifestation. You're just putting it out there. I mean, obviously there's different ways of praying, of course, but you're like, oh God, please let this happen by. Like, that's nothing. Like, if you really want something to happen or whatever, yes, open yourself up to the energy of a higher being like that, and direct it, and build it, and there are all kinds of ways to do that. So he said his spiritual journey began with a not weak prayer, which led to an awakening peak experience that was the most powerful in my life. I can best describe it as being in love with everyone, even former enemies who radically changed their opinion of me. And being completely uninhibited. For a long time I had no ego, or for a time I had no ego. Strange byproduct of that peak experience was a complete loss of libido. It returned, and with it guilt, fear, anxiety, depression, confusion. What do you know about sex magic? And so I said, okay, this is where it starts to get interesting, at least I thought. I started like writing, and then it was just kind of like this tirade, and I'm like, okay, well, this is good stuff. So I just wanted to share. I said, that's interesting. It sounds like you opened a channel within yourself that allowed your sexual energy, you can call it kundalini energy, they're at least related, to surge upward through your body, leading to an experience of ecstatic oneness. That would explain the loss of libido. Your brain was circulating the sexual energy throughout your system instead of using it for baser energetic purposes. This has happened to me before. How long did it last? Yes, it can be discouraging when it ends, almost like coming off a drug, especially when you struggle in vain to get back to that state. Laugh out loud. Ha 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 ha. I know a good deal about sex magic. To me, the term more specifically means, and this is when I'm talking about magic and different things that we're talking about in general, refers to achieving magical results, or results in the material world, most likely, through the use of sexual energy specifically. Magical results can also be of the higher spiritual variety, sex magic, to achieve enlightenment. I should probably point out that in general, and this is in general for all of you too, when I talk about magic these days, I mean the manipulation of the material world in general. In truth, the Taoist Neigong that I practice could certainly be called high magic or even high sex magic in some instances, but since my experience with chaos magic in particular has been more mundane, that's just how I tend to think of it. Mostly when I refer to magic, it's referring to using your will and certain types of energy techniques or sigilization or whatever to achieve results in the physical world, to create a path to get a job, whatever, all kinds of different things. He's into the next thought, and he says, when you write, a true magician takes control of himself and his world and creates both according to his desires, I see red flags. This is him talking, the email. This is the good stuff. I'm trying to decipher and distinguish ego desires from true will. The first is a rabbit hole and leads to nothing but suffering, guilt, fear, anxiety, depression, confusion. It's the first law of Buddhism. The cause of all suffering is desire. I have problems with Crowley's do what thou wilt philosophy. I have a problem with the secret / Oprah gospel of abundance philosophy also, as do I. And this was interesting to me because that's how I could tell that he's actually serious about his seeking. because that sentence that I wrote, a true magician takes control of himself and his world and creates both according to his desires, was so loaded to me. I seriously paused on it for like 5 minutes, like deleting it. Like, this is all I can think of to say right now. And, you know, and the fact that he picked up on that, I'm like, wow, that's awesome. I should have probably hesitated for 5 minutes on that sentence. It's quite loaded. I'm sure my intention wasn't going to get through. You're completely right. It's full of cobwebs. Noting that you perceive that. Okay. And point out the distinction between desire and true will. Yes, that's basically the point of everything, isn't it? What is true desire? What is true will? This is the point of my going through a tirade, and I don't know if you're going to watch this, brother, but one other thing that I forgot to put in this email is even the Buddha admits that without desire, there would be no seeking. Maybe I put that in there. Where did it go? I don't think so. No, I didn't. But even the Buddha admitted that without desire, there would be no seeking, and so there would be no progression, spiritual progression. There would be no enlightenment without desire. Okay? The desire is necessary. Otherwise, you just be an automaton walking around the earth doing nothing, never achieving, never striving, never attempting to gain enlightenment, and never eventually, hopefully, becoming enlightened. Enlightenment is a detachment from and freedom from desire. But without the desire, we wouldn't have anything. And so, I guess just to go off on this point a little bit, when we talk about divine will and desire, and possibly an ego desire, or a divine desire, and will, and true will, and egoistic will, all of these terms, which I'm going to touch on in this crazy email if I ever get to it, I suppose the real point, and I'll talk about this in the email, of course, is that real spiritual work is attempting to bring our personality desires, our so-called mundane desires, into alignment with our spiritual desires, if so they can be called, and our true spiritual will. And then all of a sudden, no, desire is not a bad thing. Everybody desires. I desire to have an apple today because I'm craving one and I am hungry. That is not evil and is not going to lead to suffering if I suddenly go get that apple and take a bite out of it. Detachment from desire means you're still probably having the desire, but you're not attached to it. You're not identifying with the desire. It's not becoming your whole world. That's more what the Buddha meant, I think. And I'm pretty sure Bhagavan would agree with me. Anyway, this is getting pretty loaded, and it's about to get worse. Okay, this is going to be fun. I'm just going to read it straight up, and I might hopefully not commentate it. What is true desire? What is true will? My will, down here on this plane, is basically what I desire it to be. I want a hot new sports car that I can't afford. So I will... Whoa. I can't afford, so I will... having it... Ah, dang, I missed a word. I can't afford, so I will bring my having it into being either by saving for one. Damn, this is all... stealing one, or firing off a sigil charged with tons of sexual energy into the universe until the universe gets the idea, kills my uncle who leaves me $50,000, and I go out and buy one. Was that my true will? Sure, why not? I wanted a new car, so why shouldn't I get one by whatever means necessary? This is to say nothing of karmic repercussions, of course. In all cases, my desire is in line with my will, and that's all that matters. And that's... Now I'm commenting again. That's sort of how a lot of magicians operate. Yes, you don't curse people because you realize that there are karmic repercussions to things, but most people don't consider the other karmic repercussions, like maybe I shouldn't be focusing on this desire or whatever because I need to focus on other things, higher spiritual work, taking care of my family, whatever. When we do factor, I'm reading again, in the karmic repercussions, no, I don't want to limit the energy of the universe, in this first instance represented by money, by saving for years for something as mundane as materialistic as a new sports car that I can't afford. All of the money, energy could be funneled into much higher pursuits, taking better care of my family, service to others, which is spiritually beneficial, the problem of altruism/selfishness aside, or using it to make the time to seek my personal spirituality more seriously. No, I don't want to steal one to take something for nothing or from someone, because that has an obvious dramatic effect on the one whom I'm limiting by taking it. The variables of that situation are way too numerous to list, but you get my point. No, I don't want to focus magical energy willy-nilly, or specifically on causing someone to die, obviously, because the universe often, or willy-nilly, because the universe often does respond in unexpected and shocking ways, in that karmic repercussions for causing an accident, setting the circumstances in motion for someone's death. Yes, you get the idea. Now, there does come a time when a magician reaches a place of balance. You might even call it a place of peace. And I want to call it balance with desire, because this body is always going to desire. If it didn't, it wouldn't be human. It wouldn't be alive. To me, it's probably when he's done a lot of spiritual work, when he's given himself up to his true spiritual will, the will of his holy guardian angel, as Crowley called it, his daemon, highest self, etc. I like to call it the Logos sometimes, as this term to me adequately describes the relationship. The Logos is the divine word or spokesperson between God/the universe and me or you. It always knows what's in our best spiritual interests, what our true spiritual will is. Do you think it truly cares that you're monkeying about with mundane magic trying to get a new sports car? It might not be tickled pink, but its concerns are so beyond yours that it barely even notices what you muck about with. Okay, this is not your fuzzy conception of your higher self, this, nebulous, intuitive thing that hovers about you. This is God. The God you are between you and the rest of the universe, which is completely undefinable. That is almost undefinable in itself. But it has more of a personality, it has a way to speak, to communicate. Therefore, we call it something like the Logos, or the Daemon, which is this go-between. However, it does seem to care when you actively attempt to bring your action into alignment with your desire and your true will. Your true desire and your true will, your true spiritual desire. It could be argued that this is the ultimate goal of the true magician, the true spiritual seeker, not to simply submit to the whims of some greater force that we'll never understand, but to bring our lives into perfect alignment with that great force by actively seeking to understand it, not just to understand it, but indeed to become it, so that there is no distinction between our words, our actions, and our desires, and our daemon's desires, our Atman's desires, whatever. Question remains, how do you do that? It touches on the notion of balance and higher self, or higher spiritual work that I mentioned earlier. First off, at least in my mind, most spiritual work should be so-called high magic if you're dealing with in the magical vein, or magic for enlightenment, awakening, etc. That's always a noble ambition. It's the dancing queen. I do like ABBA. There should be a focus on clearing away karma, actively releasing it, and cleansing the physical and energetic bodies. My whole thing. Alright, I'm not going to let that play in the background. Yes, I am. It's awesome. Then there's the idea of surrender. And I was probably putting this in here and I was just getting on one track thing because his peak experience was with prayer and opening himself up in a sort of naive way to the energy of God, the energy of the universe. Serapis is really happy that I'm doing this right now. I don't know why. He likes spiritual passion, I think. This is a difficult question, the question of surrender, and this is what leads to a lot of peak experiences for people in general, not just the New Agers and magicians and so on, but Christians too. One that begs a discussion of faith, blind faith, and all that yummy stuff. And what is true surrender anyway? When you have a mind that's so open to possibilities, what the hell are you surrendering to? Well, you can choose to surrender to anything. A good place to start is the notion of the ultimate creative power of the universe. The ultimate creative power of the universe, I surrender to that. It's going to be pretty awesome. And you're going to open yourself up in tremendous ways. Or if you have a good conception of God, surrender to that. And I should have clarified what I mean by good conception of God. A well-defined and grand, open notion of God. I mean, the word God, especially I think in English, probably other languages too. A lot of languages. It's usually attached to a Judeo-Christian notion of God, which is ill-defined at best. If you have a different conception of the word God, and it's open and a possibility and divine, something that we can't understand but that we must strive to understand, and that can become a part of us, and that we are a part of already truly, as we are all children of God, then yeah, sir, surrender to that. That's beautiful. It doesn't judge, it doesn't smite, it doesn't kill willy-nilly like Yahweh in the Old Testament. Just saying. I'm just saying. In a physical sense, to me anyway, surrender means opening your mind/brain to a channel of energy and allowing that energy to flow through your body. All this energy stuff, Reiki, Diksha, whatever, is physically real. Oh, so many mistakes, and can have tremendous effects on the body and consciousness. Most forms of meditation are really trying to create a pathway for a specific type of energy to begin running through the brain and body. Getting there with the mind as a starting point is the most difficult way, in my opinion, which is why meditation is so difficult and takes so long to produce a dramatic result. The easier and more effective way, IMO, is through focused energy work, Neigong, Qigong, Yoga, Tantra, etc. Once you've cleared these physical energetic channels, tuning into and causing higher divine spiritual energy to flow through your mind/body to cause dramatic changes in consciousness, melding with the universe, ecstatic bliss, divine revelation, and insight become much, much, much easier. Alright, I'm basically describing my whole end email. So yeah, I hope that made some sense. I'm just excited about it because there was a lot of good stuff in there, and I was just sort of like, I'm hashing it out, obviously. I don't have all of this, written down. It's not like, whatever. Yes, I don't have it all straight in my head, and so it's just the energy that I'm resonating with this person. It's like coming through, and he's asking the right questions to make me start thinking about some of this stuff and actually define it. So, let's see if this video is 20 minutes long. Hopefully I'll be able to put one up that isn't, but it probably is, because most of my videos are. Hope you enjoyed it, and let's go ahead and, talk amongst yourselves, discuss.